the course. And what I want you to do is think back over the content we've covered and just jot down into the chat one thing that you've really sticks in your mind that you've taken away. Now, it could be something that really, you resonated with you, or you thought was really important, or maybe something that was really eye-opening for you, or just something you go, oh, that was really interesting. Or it could be something that maybe you're not convinced about, you disagree with, or the like. So just something about that. And of course, because we're in a prize-giving mood on a Friday, I've got some random particular things from the course content that if you match one of the 6 that I've got, not to say my 6 are the most important at all, they're just a random 6 I sort of look through and that one and that one. If you happen to land and match one of those, you will be a prize winner. So we'll see how we go with that. So I'll just give you a minute to think back, jot something into the chat. Okay, lots of great comments coming in, and I'm going to go through them shortly. Okay, let's have a look at some of the things coming in. All right. So we've got some people thinking about all road users, not just drivers. And I think that's a wonderful takeaway. I'm really glad people have identified that. It's so important to think holistically about all of our road users, pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and vehicle drivers, and those in wheelchairs and scooters and all different. See-through effect pops up quite a number of times there. So that's an interesting takeaway. Different types of pedestrian crossings, tolerable speeds there from Tyson. So the energy and kinetic energy within crashes and the forces and the speeds being an integral part to that. Disconnection of the roundabout signs. There you go. That's one that often sticks with people. They can't stop seeing that. See-through effect. Identifying issues and not having to find the solution is a different way of thinking. That's a really good, thoughtful insight into the role of an auditor, problem finder, not necessarily a problem solver. And that's so counter to what we generally do in our profession of engineering and technical services within roads. We're all about solving problems and not just finding them. Roundabouts and cyclists, a very good one. Good one here from Tim, which is that sort of understanding that audits don't force the receivers to do any work. That it's an advice paper. It holds no legal binding, and I saw that coming with the next one as well there from Adrian, that it's not a legal, you must do all of this that the auditor says, it's advice. So good, some great takeaways there. Yeah, some more sort of reinforcement of the all road users. the risk matrix, and not just thinking about the driver being at fault. What a great sort of summary there of different parts of the course. And I love doing that little exercise just to see that people are thinking about this stuff, things are resonating with people. And I only said to do one because there could be many, no doubt. So let's see, I had a few here. Oh, I'm going to move my little, oh, there we go. So let's see if anybody picked my random ones as well. As I say, mine not necessarily the most important or the like. Reactive versus proactive. Nobody had that. Dynamic visual obstruction masking. No, we had a lot of see-through effect ones. Bicycle-friendly grates. Pedestrian desire lines. That was sort of done by somebody. Sharrows. Severity of injury was definitely done by Tyson. So one prize there for Tyson. And maybe, Emma, you can look back through the chat and see who talked about pedestrian crossing. Well, we'll give them pedestrian design line. Not quite there, but
absolutely.
Maybe need to change the name to road safety advice. Would it be taken more seriously? Well, I think audits are taken very seriously. They're just it's just sort of the misunderstanding of what to do with them. But road safety advice might be an interesting one. Anyway, I think audit's pretty entrenched in our vocabulary and our industry and the like, so it'll probably stay as that. But I think it's just, you know, your role to continue to help people understand the purpose of it. Road safety assurance, a nice one. We're going to think of all the A words that could fit in as the RSA, aren't we? Okay, well, let's keep moving on and cover off a few more things, but do keep your questions and your comments coming in. We will, actually, I will at this point pause and see if anybody wants to discuss their road safety audit that they're starting to do. Any questions? Any clarification? Anybody confused about the task or confused about how to write up the report? Feel free to pop your hand up and we can unmute you and you can talk, or just type something in. So I'll give it a second. Yep, so Matt's made popped a question in here, which is a very good one. Just confirming that it's only 3 points we need to pick. So 3 issues. That's all. You know, road safety audits can have, you know, 20, 30, 50 issues. Yeah, but for the exercise, for the training, I want to keep this contained. I don't want you cancelling your weekend plans to do the audit all weekend. I just want 3 issues. So the checklists are available, as Tim's said there. So remember, they are prompt lists. You don't need to in fact, we don't want you to hand that in. And they're just to help you through your thinking about a whole lot of different issues of the site. They are really great to take with you to site to think of them while you're out there. Some people, some people sort of do that at the desktop with the design and then go out on site and they have a few particular things that they say, well, I don't know, I'll look at that on site, I'll look at that on site, I'll look at that on site. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I can see that from the plans. So some people use it more as a desktop tool and get out there on site without it. Yeah, so another good question has come in here. Are you looking for issues in the existing conditions when you get out there, or for the design that you've been given when it's been implemented? And the answer is for the design when it's been implemented. Okay, the existing conditions are going to change because they're going to build something, okay? And your job is when they do and build that, make those physical changes to that environment, that the end product is safe for all road users. So the reason you go to site is to look at any tie-in issues, the way that the new facility might meet the old facility, looking for particular things that are there that when they do the upgrade will remain or get worse. So maybe trees close to the road, where the road's going to now get closer to those trees, or drainage positioning. So you really got to imagine the future. You've got to visualize this thing built and then find the problems that exist in the future, not the existing conditions. All right. If we wanted you to do an existing conditions audit, we would not have given you any plans. Okay. That is a type of road safety audit, but you're just going out and you're looking at the existing road environment, what's currently there, what are the issues. The one we're getting you to do now is the future one. We've got a specific question about a design. So we're going to have to come back to you on that because I don't know which design you've got straight off the top there. So Emma, maybe that's one we just got to take offline and get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Specific question about the color of. Sorry? Oh, no, it's all right. I think that might be a child attacking Emma there. So, yeah, we'll get back to you on that one. Okay, well, it sounds like you're all got your head around what you need to do, just the 3 issues, visualizing a future built facility and trying to predict how road users are going to use it and any trouble that could come from that. But do pop in any other questions as we tick along. Today's session, I want to talk about the more administrative side of road safety auditing, the accreditation, the legal liability, and a few other things. So at the end of this session, I want you to know or be able to find the requirements of different jurisdictions to become a accredited road safety auditor or to do road safety audits officially within that jurisdiction, so that state or territory or in New Zealand. Understand the process for registering as a road safety auditor, and I'm going to point at Victoria, South Australia, and Queensland actually as 3 particular registers, and I'll briefly mention others, and some potential legal risks for both road safety auditors, which hopefully you will become and go and progress that, but also those who are procuring road safety audits. So if you're engaging a road safety auditor for your design, for your project, for your existing road network, what are some of the legal risks there? And let's start with that. So we're going to start with just a few discussions about legal liability. Now, I do want to say that here that I'm not a legal professional. I'm not a lawyer, and so of course get your own official legal advice. But what I'm going to just talk to you about in my 20 years odd in road safety auditing in a road authority, and managing it from a state perspective, but then also doing road safety audits and lots of different legal battles, I suppose, that have taken place that we've had involvement in, and some of the things that I've seen come out of these. So this is more just a few insights in what I believe. So this one is for the auditors. Here's a little list of possible issues as a road safety auditor. So once you're out there and you get yourself to become an accredited road safety auditor, you're out there auditing new designs and the like, what are some potential legal things that could come up? Well, the first one I put there is what has been termed a client-focused audit. Now, the scenario that I'll give to sort of demonstrate what is meant by this client-focused audit is, imagine there's a big new hardware chain, massive hardware store chain, and they're opening up sites all over Australia. And their sites, of course, access onto the public road network. They've got to get people in and out of the sites, don't they? Into their big warehouses. So the road authority says, yep, okay, you've put in your planning permit application, and we've looked at the general design here, and you're going to access onto the road network at these points. We think these sorts of controls need to be put in place there, and we also are going to require you to get independent road safety audits done of your design and your development at preliminary design stage, detailed design stage, and during construction, something like that. And so the big hardware chain person goes, okay, road safety audit, I'm not sure what this thing is, but okay, I'll Google that. Okay, I know there's a big list of road safety auditors who are accredited in Victoria to do those, or in Queensland or whatever. Okay, I'll look at that. All right, I'll pick a few of them, ask them for quotes, and yeah, great, okay. And then the hardware developer engages you as an auditor, and then gives you the plans and says to you, by the way, don't you dare recommend anything that's going to cost us more money, because we are, on a strict budget here. We can't spend any more. We're overspent already on civil works, and so yeah, I mean, you can look at it, but we only want ideas of maybe some signs and line changes. That's about all we can do. And maybe there's a bit of remember, we've got 100 of these stores opening up across Australia, so lots of good work in it for you if you look after us. Of course, you can see in this very sort of obvious example that it's not something that you can entertain as a road safety auditor. You've got to be independent. You've got to be transparent in putting down what you absolutely believe are the issues, and in rectification measures you can provide some different options, and then there's a bit of discussion, no doubt, between the developer and the road authority in exactly the way to treat that issue and the costs involved. But as an auditor, stay out of that. If you receive an inadequate brief and you don't request more information, and I mean, what's extreme examples would be things like, do a detailed design road safety audit on this proposed roundabout at this intersection, and they hand you over sort of a concept style sketch of a roundabout. So, well, that's not, I can't do a detailed design road safety audit. I can do a feasibility stage road safety audit, but certainly not a detailed design stage road safety audit. Or maybe there's one in your, you don't request the swept path diagrams, or you don't request certain information that's not provided that is critical to that being able to do that specific audit. So misleading your qualification or experience, of course, that goes not just for road safety auditing, but across the all professions really. But if you are to say that you're a senior road safety auditor, and I'll tell you a bit more about that shortly, or that you're an accredited road safety auditor, or that you've got 20 years design experience, road design experience, or something like that, of course, that's going to put you into potential legal challenges. Then it's not following the correct process. So not visiting the site during the daytime and the nighttime, if that was what the brief had specified. Not visiting the site at all, so doing it by a street view and claiming that you went to a site, and not following sort of your own organisation's quality management systems and processes that may be in place. And then in a legal sense, you're held to what is called a reasonable assessment. And so you are expected to, in comparison to your peers, be producing similar quality of review findings. Now that can be very sort of scary for a new auditor to think, oh my God, like I'll miss stuff and there's legal potential. I'd say don't get too worried about that, because you audit in teams. And as you start auditing especially, you're going to be being continued to be mentored, to be part of a team with others, and you'll continue to build your knowledge up in these areas. In terms of, some actual legal cases against auditors, against road authorities, the major legal cases involving that have road safety auditing as part of that legal case have been against road controlling authorities, road authorities, and so therefore sort of design stage ones as well as existing ones, but local governments and state road authorities or national road authorities where they have not had correct processes in place. And I'll show you the procurement side shortly. They're the next one. In terms of auditors themselves, more in the construction site traffic management, road safety auditors have been held accountable. Nobody has been done on any of the client-focused ones. It is more of a concern and a fear and something that people, looking out for. And there's been some pretty bad audits which have been used in legal cases, which have contributed to part of the findings of the case, but not directly accountable to the auditor as such. So it's just something that we're flagging with you. There are some potentials there. In terms of the road authority or the customer or the person procuring the road safety audit, so intentionally handing over an inadequate brief, holding back information that may be relevant for the auditors to be able to undertake their job, requesting specific recommendations. So you're not doing the audit, it's the auditors doing the audit. You can provide them all the information, but you don't have the right to say, okay, this is an issue that you must put in your audit and you've got to risk rate it high, or likewise saying, well, listen, we've had so many complaints about this design, about the, raised platform part of it and noise that could be generated. So I don't want to see any recommendations associated with the raised platform, because that's going to cause us heaps of headaches with community consultation. You can't be doing any of that. You can raise that, there is concern in the community about these things, but you can't be specifying what should be in that audit report. Then it's about when you get that audit report, what do you do with it as a client? You've got to look at the recommendations, accept them, reject them, defer them, and they're all absolutely legitimate things to do as the receiver of an audit report. But it's about documenting that and actually saying, yes, thank you for your finding. We absolutely disagree with it, and here is why we disagree with it. And that is fine, nicely closed off. But to get an audit report and not do anything with it, you've got a whole lot of things that have been identified. And if you just pop that into a drawer or, okay, tick, we've done a road safety audit, put that on the project file, carry on as we were, then or into legal liability issues, and they're predominantly the ones that road authorities have been held to account for. The other one that they've been held to account for is an absolute just lack of any systematic way of deciding which projects get road safety audits and which don't. And this was one I was in a road authority at the time, and we got absolutely towed by the coroner, and probably rightly so. And it gave us a good kick in the pants because we did not have a documented, systematic way at the time, this was a long time ago, of deciding which development was subject to a road safety audit and which was not. And it was just completely random. One region would be going, yep, everything, all developers that come in with anything accessing onto the arterial road network, they must do road safety audits. Other regions didn't have any. And then occasionally this other region had one. And so there was, a fatality on a development that had recently been built, and there was no road safety audit that had happened through that. And yeah, the coroner rightly said, what on earth is this road authority doing? How do you decide? And we didn't have answers. So certainly that sort of stuff is very, very bad. So what I would suggest is that any road authority has a documented policy as to when you will and when you will not do road safety audits. And everybody should be aware of that. Nobody's saying you need to do road safety audits on every little, sign change or every time you do a new splitter island or anything like that, right? But you want to have a sound way of making that decision. There'll be a risk assessment. It could be a very short risk assessment. Could be done on dollar value of capital works. Could be done on, whatever it is. But it's an important thing to do. To make your life easy on that, in the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which we worked on, a group of us, and it's released, it's public, and it's freely available on Austroads' website. In the back of that, we put template road safety audit policies that we encourage local governments or other road controlling authorities to simply copy, put their council name in, make sure they're happy with it, adjust it all, put it up to their director of infrastructure or whatever to sign off, and hey presto, you've got something there. And as long as you follow it, you're in a good position. Means of priority.
I was going to say, a couple of questions have just come in, Ken. Well, hang in over that. So this is actually in relation to what you were just saying, and then I'll backtrack to the one earlier. If you disagree for financial reasons and an injury occurs, are you liable as the rejecter?
No. No, as long as it can be sort of shown that it was sound justification for disagreeing. There is an inherent randomness to crashes. And so crashes will occur as well, at different places for different reasons. Has the road been a major contributing factor, and has that particular issue been a major contributing factor to that crash? That's what then gets debated and played out. But if you've got a good process in place that said, we disagree with this issue and here's the evidence why, you're in a pretty good position. And so financial reasons, actually, I might need to just clarify what I've said there, because Will has said, if you disagree for financial reasons. Now, they're two different things in my mind. You agree or you disagree with the finding. Okay, is that an issue or is it not? Okay, and you can agree with it and you can disagree with it. So that's the issue. The way to rectify the issue, okay, that is a financial implication issue as well. So if the auditor has then suggested, okay, so the auditor's gone, we've got a concerning see-through effect at this intersection, and the auditor has said, build an overpass is my recommendation. Big flyover, eliminate the intersection altogether. Now you can, as a receiver of that audit report, go, yeah, I don't disagree at all. There's a see-through effect issue here, but I cannot afford the $36 million to do a flyover. So you can write then, we agree with the finding, absolutely. However, we have limited funds and we have decided that we will lessen the risk using these features. The courts are absolutely fully understanding of limited resources. Just like absolutely. They know that there is not unlimited funds. We can't be grade separating everything everywhere. We can't, right? But what they're not sympathetic on is either ignoring the issue or not having a systematic way to prioritize investment. So you're, in that case, you put your ideas down. First of all, I'd say that's not a great audit if they've just said that. I mean, it's good on them for finding it, but it's not a reasonable response. I mean, if they genuinely thought a grade separation was the answer, they could put that, but maybe put some other options as well to help out a little bit. Not very helpful to the local government if they're getting that kind of report. But yeah, how you manage that output, you can do that. So, and Catherine's put in there, as far as is reasonably practicable, and that is a very good statement. And again, there's debate legally about, you get into that debate is what is reasonably practicable. There was another one there, Emma. Did you say?
There is. Yep. In relation to the consideration of recommendations, Tim's asking, do we have to send that back to the auditor?
No, good question. No, not at all. It is nice to continue your dialogue with the road safety auditor. And as a road safety auditor myself, I love receiving that report with the responses. So all these issues that we've identified, suggestions and their responses, it's really nice to see, but it is not a requirement. The report, when handed over to the client, end of audit, end of official business. Okay, it's theirs. It's an advice report. Off you go. Do with it what you want. There is no requirement in there to hand that filled out back to the auditor, nor is there any requirement for the auditor to check that they actually did anything or anything like that. That's a whole different exercise. So once that report's handed over, the advice is handed over, end of official story. Anything else there?
Not question-wise, just a comment. This is where these audits are great in the design phase, as it's more cost-effective to change the design rather than post-construction. That's just
great comment. Absolutely.
Oh, and a follow-up question from Tim. But a response should be saved internally.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to need your files to house those responses because when the lawyers come knocking 5 years down the track, you've got to say, yeah, no worries. Get the project file out. Here's the audit was done. There are responses. Absolutely. You got to get your filing systems and your responses in place. And I mean, I certainly in different positions in different road authorities and the like, there's been different ways to do that. There's been centralized databases of audit findings. There's just been a standard way that you do that on the project file and those sorts of things.
Great. And we've just had a question about that, is from Kip, how long do you need to keep the files for?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question, Kip. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on this sort of stuff. I don't know. I just keep I keep the audits that I've done on on file since I ever started auditing, but I don't know what the road authorities and the like would have to do. That's probably one you do need to check with a lawyer if you're thinking of shredding the archives from 2010. I don't know whether that would cause you potential problems or not. Anybody else got any thoughts on that? I'd be interested. Okay, well, I think that's pretty good chat about legal liability. Down the bottom of the one here for the client is held to a reasonable process as well, and that's very similar to the reasonable requirements of the auditor and the audit authority as well. Let's go into accreditation. Okay, so this is an interesting one. You're pretty close to completing a official recognized road safety audit course, and this course that you're just in the middle of is officially recognized by the Victorian government, Queensland government, South Australian government, New Zealand government, and then Tassie, Northern Territory. Well, they just say we recognize anybody else's, so you're good there as well. Not New South Wales; they are a rogue jurisdiction, and for unbeknownst reason, they only have one course that they accept. Even though, anyway, I won't get into that. And Western Australia has just recently completely overhauled the system that they changed, and New Zealand accepts, predominantly this course and a little bit of the road safety engineering workshop as well. But so what is required to become accredited? Because what we do is give you a certificate at the end of this course. And so you've got this certificate to say you've successfully completed a road safety audit course. But the jurisdictions keep their own registers of accredited auditors, which is a little bit more than just this course. And what we've done is put into your memory stick and on Moodle a A4 page, which just lists the jurisdictions and what their specific requirements are. And I've popped just a few of them up here. So Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, which are all ones that you'll be very eligible to jump into. And the thing is that you'll first of all be able to become this official registered road safety auditor in these jurisdictions. It's your entry level. They all have this senior auditor status as well. In order to become a road safety auditor in Victoria, on the Victorian Government Register of Accredited Road Safety Auditors, you need to have completed an approved course. So this course, you've got a tick there, assuming you finish your assignments, quizzes, and those sort of things. You need to have, and a quote here, some experience in road design, traffic transport management, road safety engineering, road user behaviour. Okay, and it's very open in Victoria. So this is really more a check of, is this person actually sort of in the industry? Okay, so having looked at the list of who we've got here, having read your introductions, those who put them on, and understand who you are, you all meet that entry level requirement. Right, you're in the industry, so we didn't have any bartenders who are coming along to the course or the like, who really aren't in the industry. Okay, there is no minimum professional years experience. Now this all could change, shortly, but for now, you simply get your certificate. You put very briefly your CV, and you say you're you're working at the moment in ABC consultancy, which does traffic and road safety engineering or something like that, and then you become a road safety auditor. to progress up to a senior road safety auditor, you need to prove 5 years experience in these. You need to undertake 5 official road safety audits. 3 of them have to be at design stage. So you can't just do all existing conditions or all construction site. And you need to do 1 road safety audit per year to keep up that senior status. Now, this is pretty close to the same for Queensland, except for you don't just get in without any experience. So they mandate significant experience off the bat. But then everything else tends to align. They have a requirement that you're at least doing 1 audit per year. In Victoria currently, no maintenance requirement, no experience required. Basically, you can get onto the register, and as it's currently been going, you can just be on there for forever doing nothing. But the thing is that you must be a senior auditor to lead a road safety audit team. So as a road safety auditor who's been sitting on the register doing nothing, you can't lead a road safety audit anyway. You can be part of the team. South Australia is generally the same there, a bit closer aligned with Victoria. What, is it exactly the same as Victoria? No, slightly different in where they believe the competencies lie. I'll briefly talk about some of the other jurisdictions just out of your interest. New Zealand has no accreditation register, right? It's all just prove your competency when you're bidding for work. So, you show the certificate from the course and, a bit of a CV of experience. It's that sort of one-off. A lot of New Zealanders tend to jump onto the Victorian register, and you can simply use, it requires an Australian address, but that was just a little thing when it was set up. So you can just use the Safe System Solutions office address is fine, or any address really. They don't actually ever mail you anything, emails. So that's New Zealand. New South Wales has got level 1, 2, and 3, and it's they have that one specific course that you've got to do, which there's quite a bit of politics behind why that all is. Anyway, Western Australia's gone to a very, very different model of courses, of assignments, longer, much harder process to go through, and then you get appointed an official mentor, and you have a couple of years with that official mentor, and you have, there's continuing, ongoing educational requirements. So it's a real, it's like a uni course basically. Whereas Victoria took a very different approach, was to try to get as many people into the game and to starting to think about these things, and easier entry, bigger pool. Western Australia, other end, tiny pool of just incredibly experienced and rigorously competent auditors, but just a bizarre scenario. Like I was on their register. I have lapsed off their register because it was like six 2-day courses to do over a 6-month period to retain the thing. I was just like, oh yeah, I don't even get over to Western Australia ever. But interestingly, like being on their register as a senior road safety auditor, I was getting asked to fly to Perth from Melbourne quite often to do road safety audits of like local road roundabouts and things like that. And I'm like, you realize I'm in Melbourne. This is crazy. And they're like, it's a 2-month lag to get an auditor, a road safety auditor, to come and do this work, which that's what happens when you narrow it down to your field of a handful of people in a whole state for infrastructure work. So that struck me as just ludicrous. So you've got to find a better balance. Anyway.
A question's come in, Ken. Can a senior road safety auditor legally do a road safety audit independently?
Yes. I mean, so again, like legally is a bit of a strong word in this sense, because it's all documented in the Austroads guidelines. Remember, they're guidelines. So it's not a particular standard, but it does have this slight get out clause, which in there says that, it says a road safety audit, I think it says should be done by a team, not must be done by it. Should be done by a team led by a senior road safety auditor. And then there's this sort of bit underneath that says something like, in rare circumstances, a single person audit could be done on a low risk project or something like that. So you would just be saying, well, we defined that as whatever that was, low risk project, or whatever it is. So you could hand on heart say this conforms with the Austroads guidelines as a road safety auditor. It could be one senior road safety auditor. Good question, though. Thank you. And those two levels I was talking about there, road safety auditor, senior road safety auditor, it's not about age. I could swap these photos around, no worries. Because it's about those particular competencies and the like. So you need to do this course or an equivalent recognised course in the jurisdiction, and some experience in road safety design. This is for Victoria I'm talking about. And the senior we talked about already, 5 years experience and 5 road safety audits under the guidance of an accredited senior road safety auditor. So in Victoria, it's all housed at this website, www.vrsa.com.au. That's victorianroadsafetyauditors.com.au. Now, this is a funny little aside story as to how this website eventuated. This is it here, and it's VicRoads branded, but it's not housed on the Victorian government website. So I was in VicRoads at the time and wanted to get this register up and running because it was chaos. This was 12 years ago or something like that. And it's trying to navigate through getting a register of road safety auditors on the Victorian government website. And oh my God, it was just the most insane process I've ever seen. It was going to take years and hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to do this. Stuff that. Just got a standalone website and got a developer, popped it together, and I engaged ARB to manage the website, and it was all up and running. And then I got in big trouble for creating a standalone website. But hey, 12 years later, it's still up and running, doing a beautiful job. So so be it. But anyway, that's an aside. Well, the first thing you see when you log into this website is a disclaimer. And the disclaimer says there's a big list of road safety auditors on here, and we can't guarantee any are any good. We can just tell you that they've done a proof course, they've successfully completed that, and that they've met these other requirements. So you make a call as to whether you think they're good or not. Do your own due diligence. So there you go, disclaimer straight off the bat. And when you get in there, vrsa.com.au, you're going to, first thing you're probably likely to do is register for auditor accreditation. And as I say, you can do this. You can be in any jurisdiction and you can register on here. And then it's going to say, hey, do you want to register as a road safety auditor or a senior road safety auditor? And you're probably going to want to register as a road safety auditor unless you've somehow been doing audits or you've done this is a refresher for you or something like that. And you click that, and then it gives you some details to fill out. And you fill out all this information your name, your organization, position, all of that. And you can hide whatever you want from the public. So you don't want your phone number out there in the public. You just click the little hide, button. Why is my pen stopped working? I was going to tick one of these boxes. Missed. Hide from public. You don't want your name seen. So, and once you've filled all of that out, it gets sent off for processing. They'll do a quick check of that information, and then you will be on the register as a road safety auditor, and you're able to log back in behind the scenes and add information and change things as you go. So then if you're wanting to procure road safety auditors, you can go to the search for an auditor function here, which is in the same page. You can search by name, by organization. You can search by required expertise here in terms of the stage of audit. Remember, feasibility, functional, detailed, pre-opening, existing road, or by particular, characteristics, local area traffic management, motorcycles, pedestrians, work sites. So you can tick a box there. Take that with a grain of salt because it's self-proclaimed expertise. And, a lot of people just tick them all. They don't want to miss out on a chance to, be in the filtering and come out as an auditor. And then there's a big list of auditors. And I think we're up to about 700 people on this register in Victoria. And, a lot of them are from other states and other countries and the like, but nonetheless, it's a good list. And you can see there, organisation, email, status. So, if you've got somebody who's pending, for example, that just means that either they've uploaded information that needs to be checked, or they were very recent to put in their application and it hasn't been approved yet. So if we click on me, where am I? Down here somewhere. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is what you'll see then behind the scenes. Active, senior road safety auditor, contact details there if you want to be showing those to the public. There is a little bit of, you put a little bit of your CV in there, and that's partly so they can tick off that, yeah, they've got experience in these areas. It's also, you can have it to show others, you've done work in these spaces before. There's the expertise. Now, bear in mind, I have been auditing for a very long time, so there's a lot of ticks there. I did not tick any of the worksite traffic management plans because I can't say that I have expertise in that area. Colleagues who are far more experienced. Not to say I haven't done worksite traffic management plan road safety audits in my time. I just don't feel like an expert in that area. So regions available to work is simply they're Victorian regions, and they're just, again, if somebody only wanted to do audits down in the west of the state or something like that, they could have just Western and filter out. And then this is all people see in terms of the audits. I haven't updated these slides for a long time, but that's it's still the same. So you see there, in terms of what information of a past audit the public sees, and they'd see the location of it, what your role was, when it was done, who the client was, and what stage and specifics was associated. So behind the scenes of that, when you as a person logging in upload an audit, you don't actually still upload the actual audit report. You just upload the details of the client and basically a referee on that audit. And so if somebody wanted to audit the auditors, they would call that person, verify information, potentially ask for a copy of the audit. But yeah. Anyway, so then, lots of different audits. And then there's also a copy of a certificate from an approved course that you upload as well. So that's Victoria. There's Wally again, popping up even in the last few slides of the course.
Ken, there
yep.
is a question.
Right.
As a non-senior auditor, at this point, do I have to do audits with a senior to get the senior status in a few years?
So technical answer to that is yes. I mean, you've got to be part of an audit team with a senior auditor. It's part of you continuing your development, your knowledge, and building up. I mean, I think technically, if you were to put in audits and you were like just a road safety auditor, like as in you log them in the system and others probably wouldn't stop you becoming a senior auditor for that. But you'd have these collection of audits that would be pretty non-conforming to the guidelines associated with that, if that makes sense. So being in an audit team is good, and it does cause people some trouble. And I'm not going to. I suppose it's a good point to bring that up. Where, like, how do you, if you're a person operating one person consultant or something like that, or you're in a local government, how do you get 5 road safety audits under your belt with a senior road safety auditor? Well, you might need to be a little bit creative or a little bit forward in how you gain that experience if it's something that you genuinely want to do. You might need to volunteer to be part of audit teams as opportunity arises. You might, contact local consultancies or that do audits or companies, like ourselves for that matter, and say, if there's opportunity, I would love to be a part of an audit team to gain the experience and the continued knowledge. And we certainly take lots of local government engineers and state government engineers and others out on audits for them to continue their learning, be part of the team. So you might have to do that sort of stuff. You might need to, if you're a single consultant wanting to do that, you may need to bid for some jobs with a partnering senior auditor, and it may not be super profitable from the get-go, but it's about getting yourself experience, knowledge, gaining, building up, and then getting out there. So I hope that sort of answers that question a little bit. Okay. So South Australia is slightly different. They use the term pre-qualification for their register of accredited auditors, and they don't have a system as such. They just upload a PDF, updated every 6 months. But if you go to the, it used to be the DIPTI, and I think it's now called the DIT website. With this certificate, you follow a similar process, but you just download a form, you fill out all the information on the form, you email it in, and then 6 months or so, or 3 months, the register of auditors, which you download, will be updated, and you'll be on that list, hopefully. Different to a thing called a heavy vehicle route assessor. That's a different register, so just be aware of that in South Australia. Heavy vehicle route assessor is different. They also have now the Safe System Assessment Register, which is in South Australia, and the Victorians have a list of recommended safe system assessors. That is another different thing. It's not a road safety audit. That's a safe system assessment. Another course, if you want to get yourself onto that register as well, we can point you at our course where we do that. So vrsa.com.au. That's where I suggest you go first. It's the easiest entry to the auditing accreditation. Victoria's got the most open system from that perspective, and most people like to get themselves on that register and then go from there. So let's now see if anybody's got any questions. And what have I got? At most half an hour to go.
Yes, that's right. So feel free to send any questions through the chat, everyone.
Now, what I'm going to, so do put your questions in if you've got anything else that comes up, or feel free to put your hand up if you wanted us to give you the ability to unmute yourself and have a chat to us. I'm more than happy to talk to you. As people think about that, what I intend to do for the next little bit, the next sort of half hour, 20 minutes, is take you through some work examples, some real world audits or existing bits and pieces, just more case studies to more get you seeing different things. Now, I will give you the option that if you're really strapped for time, that you could, start to do your road safety audit. There are no wallies coming up in this, no more wallies. So this is just extra continuing to get these ideas. But, there's some good ideas and learning to come here. But I do recognise that life is just out of control with time and ability to get stuff done. But lots of exciting little bits and pieces here. So if anybody wants to ask questions now, let's see there. No questions, Emma?
Not at this stage, Ken.
All right, let's do a few little extra examples. Okay, so colleague of mine, Jamie Robinson, who's based out there in Hamilton, him and I got asked to quickly do an audit, and there's a little common theme you often get. Oh, quick, this is urgent. Anyway, so out we went to asked to do a post-opening road safety audit. Didn't get too much information apart from that. And anyway, got out. We got a little bit more, asked for a bit more information, got a few more bits and pieces, but got out there. And okay, so this is the road, and it's about, there's a good 10 or 20 kilometers of road before you get to this location here, which are 80 kilometers per hour speed limit. So you've been chugging along at 80 kilometers per hour. And you're approaching along here and you see some more 80 signs and you see the barrier line. So let's go a bit further forward. Okay, we see there that now we've got an overtaking, line marking. Don't worry about the car that's over here. That's our old work car that we parked well away from the road. So you travel there, and okay, you can start to see something coming up in the distance, no doubt. So something's going on way down there. That's looks like something off in the distance. There's another speed sign there. We can't quite see what that is at the moment. Let's go a little bit further forward. Okay, going a little bit further forward. What am I seeing now? Yeah, okay, that speed sign coming up. There's something quite far off. That's interesting. There's some little sign there. Let's keep going a little bit further forward. And we've sort of jumped over this little crest. Okay, something's coming up. Okay, 60 sign now. Let's jump a little bit further forward. Okay, now we're onto something quite interesting. We've got an island there in the middle of the road. Let's jump up and have a little further at that. Okay, so that is obviously getting hit quite a bit. Looks like it used to have keep left signs, and they've certainly been mashed, flattened, disappeared. Let's go back a little bit there. Okay, that's an interesting little setup. Okay, so we've got Damien's talking about, okay, that speed sign's an interesting spot, isn't it? Yep, so that's a possible issue. Does anybody else see any sort of odd things about this whole arrangement, this whole setup? We got an idea why there might be so many okay. Now we're getting some good answers. Really good answers there. So I think a combination of Tim, Damien, Julian, and Kip all together are shaping up the issues that are going on here. So that'd be a nice little order team really there. So the discussion there is around, okay, we go back. Let's go back a few slides here. And I'm going to sort of shape to you what's happened here. We go all the way back to here. Okay. You're driving along, maybe you've been behind a truck or something like that. And, you know, the truck's been chugging along at 70 and there's no overtaking opportunities. And then all of a sudden, here's our overtaking opportunity. Okay, great. And you keep going up further and, you know, you're starting your overtake. And then all of a sudden, you're onto an island. The crest, yeah, so David's popping in. The crest sort of hides this island as well. But, you know, overtaking on the approach to something like this is a big no-no. You never have that. The line marking is just causing a lot of trouble. The transition there, the horizontal lateral displacement, the lateral displacement we call it, here is extreme. And then here's another little picture, which I haven't shown you yet. That's what it looks like at night. There's no lighting. Well, there is actually a street light there. Let's see it. Does that work? No. So you've got quite an interesting combination of things. And Jamie and I sort of scratched our head and looked at this for quite a while. And well, what's going on here? This is weird and wrong. And finally we twigged that this is a channelized right turn lane that has been flipped over. So a channelized right turn lane should look like this. So you should approach a channelized right turn lane if you're going in the opposite direction and you get a straight run through. So Julian's pointed sort of that out rightly as well. You should have had a straight run through there or a fairly straight run through there. Any lateral deflection should be on the ones approaching this, not that one. So that's where your lateral deflection happens. And in looking at it further, we went, hang on, not only have they flipped the design, they didn't even non-flip the line marking, because the line marking is actually meant to be the other way. You're meant to have the no overtaking opportunity on the approach to any of this, and then your overtaking opportunity after it, once you're past the potential hazard. So go back and have a look at that. So you can see it's basically completely flipped. And then it started going, well, what on earth is going on here? Why would they have? Is that a mistake? Has the drafty or the designer just somehow, done a flip in their CAD software or something like that? Then we thought, oh no, I reckon we know what's going on here. I reckon there's underground services running up and down here, and they don't want to widen into the underground services, and that's what was the case. Where it would, it's going to cost them a chunk of money to relocate services, and I'm sure some of you have been through that. It's a very expensive exercise, and of course, what is this going on here? It's a development, subdivision, big subdivision, and so anyway, this is all transpired, and I just think it shows you that things that shouldn't happen do seem to still happen. This is a state road. This is an arterial road. This isn't a local back street or something like that. And that happened. Now, this was an interesting one. I think I mentioned in the risk assessment perspective that I hardly ever use intolerable risk. But this one got the intolerable risk card, and we were, I suppose, we called the road authority pretty much from when we were out there and said, yeah, you got to get something out there as, you know, temporary traffic management in place. That's not good. I mean, cars hitting it, you know, got potential for motorcyclists to strike that at night. Not a good scenario. So they were out there and rectifying pretty quickly. We obviously wrote up our report properly, but that came a little bit later because a bit of time to actually write it up. So I think there's a fairly vivid example for you there of a post-opening audit. You're probably asking questions how it slipped through the processes of the road authority to let that be built in the first place, but we'll let that one, we won't delve into that in detail. Yeah. Okay. So common thing we find often is sort of just incorrect signage. Now, you know, is this the biggest issue in out there? Is this causing all our death and serious injury? No, but it's important we do get this right. I mean, this is not a correct signage under any signage scheme. And you don't put the red circle. If you do want to do an end of a speed zone sign, it should be black like that, and that speed zone. The thing is that I don't like any regulatory looking speed signs on the approach to a give way. It's just adding to the subtle cues to a driver who will never be able to, you know, articulate this, but that their road continues on. And these sorts of things to me are not helpful in trying to stop people overshooting intersections and the like. If it's raining, you know, a bit foggy maybe, maybe they've had a few beers, whatever it is, they're driving along, they see the speed limit sign, oh yeah, continue going. Like, they're not actively thinking this in their mind, but very subconsciously the road continues on because speed limit signs aren't put on the approach to intersections like this. So adding sort of to the bulk of contributing factors in that human factors perspective on crashes. I think I might have talked about this one already. I'm going to jump past that one because I think we've already talked about it. I want to briefly talk about barriers, road safety barriers, because there's a lot of no, that's not a Wally. I'm scrubbing that Wally out. Cross it off your sheet. Cross it off your sheet. I don't know how Wally slipped in there. Sneaky Wally. End terminals of barriers, I think, is an interesting thing within road safety auditing. And if you're road safety auditing a job where you have road safety barriers being installed, proposed, and you've got the designs of barrier systems, you really need to get a barrier person who knows this involved, because there's so many intricacies with this, with barriers. It's a huge area to get your head around. And the thing is that you're expected to be right as an auditor. And so you need to really be continually updating your knowledge and being aware of this. So what we've got here is a trailing terminal, this is called. So it's a particular way to end a terminal, to trailing terminal. That is not designed to be struck end on. It's designed for the departure end of a barrier. So here's an audit finding, a little snip from a design, and the trailing terminals are only intended for use on locations where they cannot be hit end on by approaching traffic and are endangered to oncoming traffic. The proposed terminal, trailing terminals on the north of both sides would be within or outside of the clear zone. This is an old audit report if they're talking about clear zones. for southbound traffic and would be a hazard to motorists. The proposed trailing terminal on the departure side of the eastern barrier, whilst outside the clear zone, may also be vulnerable to impact by approaching traffic due to being located on the back of the curve. So they're not saying that clear zones are the be-all and end-all, and that's a rumor. I mean, clear zones, risk does not end abruptly at the end of the clear zone. But they're basically saying on the approach here, the designer has used a trailing terminal on the approach and on the departure and here. And the auditor is saying there is potential for hitting that trailing terminal that way, hitting that one, or coming across the lane and hitting that one. They're all spearing hazards. And then provide suitable terminals that can be impacted head on. And then this appears to be the auditor being just nice. It is acknowledged that the barrier design is constrained by access above tolerable limits, so that takes into account the speed and hitting spearing hazards at speed, and that's a primary treatment, virtually eliminates the potential for spearing or serious injury. So that's a little bit of insight. So barriers create their own set of issues. Grates on the departure also create their own issues as the overlap is incorrect. So there's a very detailed point there. So a grate is a gating redirective energy absorbing terminal. That is a term only used in Victoria. If you talk about grate terminals in other states, they're just going to scratch their head and look at you strangely. But that's our suite of terminals that absorb energy and redirect as well. Or Tas uses grate. Sorry. Tas uses Victoria's, a lot of Victoria's guidelines and standards, as well as some of their own, but they use the term grate as well. Thank you for the correction. Prize for Jamie there for correcting me on that. I don't think South Australia uses the term grate. Anyway, the overlap is incorrect. It depends which grate I think you use. Oh no, I think you're right, David. But you've got to think about the holistic challenges of these barrier systems, and it is not something that you can just have a quick look at and know whether things are right. They're complex, engineered systems, and they need some really good understanding of them. Probably a good chance for us to plug our 3-day road safety barrier course, where you actually delve into all of this in detail and get a real holistic understanding of that. But that one's in person, and I'm not sure where we'll be able to run that. Let's talk a little bit more about barriers in our last 5 minutes, ramp down terminals used to be a way to approach the end of a barrier system. The end of a barrier system is its most hazardous point. Spearing possibility, vaulting possibility. So these were removed for the fact that people were hitting them and vaulting. Vaulting meaning to, Dukes of Hazzard style, fly up into the air. So we don't use ramp down terminals. We don't actually use BCTAs anymore. So that is a terminal which was designed to be struck end on. It's got a breakaway cable end terminal, and A you use on the approach and B you use on the departure. It would be nice if it was D for departure, but so these were struck, the wooden post would break away. You had a big envelope of area where you would still go, but they were designed not to spear. They had some trouble. So we don't like to see them on new jobs. And as a road safety auditor, again, you'd be expected to know that that is a non-conforming end terminal. Now, for me, the risk is not astronomical, right? But the risk is higher than if we had a correct end terminal in place here. This is definitely not a correct end terminal. So our fishtails, the old fishtail end terminal is a real spearing hazard. And we do see those out there. Lots of other countries love a fishtail. This is why predominantly we don't like fishtails. And you can see there a vehicle striking a barrier and going straight through the barrier, extruding out. And that image, I hope, will sort of stick with you as why it's super important that we get our end terminals right. I'm going to give out a random prize just here near the end. So this photo, apart from that's very interesting from a barrier perspective. They survived, by the way, a miracle. It's in another country, obviously, driving on the other side of the road. And these are audio tactile edge lines, but they're scoured into the road pavement as opposed to what we do in Australia and New Zealand, which is we put thermoplastic blobs on top. Interestingly, like ours are called audio tactile edge lines. They're not. We don't call them rumble strips. Rumble strips are across the lane. So if you have things across the lane, that's technically a rumble strip. This is an audio tactile edge line, but the public sort of calls this a rumble strip as well. So be aware of that. And interestingly, some people call these a mumble strip if they're indented. But my question to you for the prize is, why do you think in this country they scour them into the pavement rather than putting the blobs on top? Any guesses? Oh, David's onto something here. So it's good from Damien and Will both thinking about the weather and the climate. So it's not directly to do with the temperature or the like in terms of the melting or breaking off in the cold, but it's how you maintain your roads when you do have, there it is, Catherine's got it, the snow plow. So if you put any raised surfaces on your road in a country where you get lots of snow, or an area you get lots of snow, when the snowplow goes through, it removes them all for you. So you've got to be aware of that. So prize for Catherine there for piecing that all together. Good hints there from both Will and Damien. When I was over doing work in the US, in Colorado, I asked them, how do you do anything? They're like, how do you do cat's eyes or raised reflective pavement markers, as we call them? And they showed me the snow plowable RRPM. What a world we live in. And that was what David's just asked there. The snow plowable RRPM. Incredible times. That's a gating redirective energy absorbing terminal. And just to throw amazing confusion into industry, that one's the old version. That's an NCHRP 350 end terminal. Doesn't conform anymore. Again, I'd say the difference is not warranting, super high intolerable risk, but we don't want that. That's a X350, also a non-conforming one. I shouldn't put a cross next to them. I mean, they're legacy items. They're okay. We just have better. That's a X350 as well. This is an ETSS. This is conforming. This meets our current standards and guidelines. It's been mash tested. It's the barrier end terminal we want to see, along with its friends here, the SKT SS. And I can't even remember what. Anybody remember what the name of this one is? SKT SS. Anyway, go to your local jurisdiction. Approved safety barrier products. Changes all the time. All right, I think about time. What a great little insight into the end there. But the real thing I say to that is probably a little window into some of the technical elements of road safety auditing, and the fact that you're going to get a certificate here. You're going to get registered on a register of road safety auditors. Pair up with people who know those topics well. You're going to have some areas of expertise yourself. You can be a real leader and mentor others and teach others in these areas. but link up with others who have the barrier expertise or have the geometric design expertise or, these sorts of things. Okay. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to do this. I mean, it's a tribute that you recognise the importance of road safety. I mean, it is the health and safety of our community, and we can contribute to that significantly through the infrastructure we provide. I really do feel that people who come out of this course, become road safety auditors or think of themselves as now a road safety auditor, have that elevated responsibility to stand up for good practices in road safety infrastructure, and call things out when you see them and they're highly dangerous, and get amongst it. Really sort of challenge and push and be the voice of road safety, and get out there and do lots of audits. Of course, I've got a wealth of information, past audit reports, research in different infrastructure. And I want to share that with you if you need. So if you're coming across things you're unsure about, just give me a call. I can flick you reports or things that I found. I suggest you jump on, if you're on LinkedIn, and follow Safe System Solutions. We do safe system snippets quite regularly, which are specific bits of information about road safety. Could be barrier internals, could be pedestrian crossings, whatever it is. And we're just trying to continually feed bits and bits of information out there. We're on to, we've done 120 of them or something in the last couple of years, and we just keep feeding them out there. You can go to our website and catch up on some of that. Some of you did your research assignment on some of those topics as well, but that's the kind of thing we're putting out there. So thank you so much. Really, enjoyed having you along. Thanks to Emma for all her background work in keeping things organised. Get your audits finished, get it in, knock it off, and get in contact if you need some assistance. Over to you, Emma.
Yeah, no, just get your audit in. Yes, and any other assignments and quizzes that you need to catch up on, please do that, because once you've completed all of that and our feedback survey, which we would really appreciate, I can see some really great feedback coming in the chat, so thank you for that. Once you get all your assessments in and marked and the quizzes done and the feedback survey, you will be able to download an electronic version of your certificate as well, which you might find very handy for registering. So that will be available to you. We will also send you out a hard copy version of it as well.
With any prizes?
With any prizes that you may have won.
Yeah.
Sadly, no Peppa Pigs.
No Peppa Pigs.
No Peppa Pigs, which might be a relief to some of you.
Yes. So, so finish everything off, as Emma said. There's a button there after you provide feedback in the system. You can download your certificate and you will get a hard copy sent in the mail.
Yes.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
You. Thanks for joining us. It's been a great program.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.